Mary Duncan here with Cut, Color, and Create. Welcome to my craft room. One of the things I love to do is make 3D flowers. And so today I thought it would be fun to go through tools that either I feel like you need to have or that are just nice to have in order to make beautiful, realistic flowers. So you can see I've got kind of a pile here on, and I thought we'd just go through them and I'll show you how to use some of them a little bit. I'm going to start with probably one of the most important tools, and that is this set. And it's designed by Susan Tierney Cockburn. She knows a tremendous amount about the flowers. She designs dyes that create the most beautiful flowers. And this is a set offered through Spellbinders that she has designed. Now, I'll go through each of the items in the kit a little bit later. I'll show you how some of them work. But I do think if you're not going to get anything else, you ought to get that. Probably the next most important thing, or if you're, trying to prioritize what it is that you want to spend money on for making 3D cards. Susan's Garden Specialty Cardstock, offered through Spellbinders again, is something that really makes a difference with your flowers. This is a cardstock that Susan has spent a lot of time researching the perfect cardstock to be able to mold. And I think that's really what we do, is mold this cardstock to make it look realistic. And you can see the flowers that she's got on her illustration that prove that it's just a wonderful cardstock. And I just wanted to show you, you use a lot of cardstock when you're making these things. And I keep my scraps in just a regular pouch that I usually keep stamps and dies in. But I keep them all together because you're always going to need a little scrap, and you don't want to throw away anything that you could use later. I'm going to just set that aside. So those are two things that I don't know that I could do without. Now, one other thing that I could probably do without, but I don't want to, and that's the Sili glue pot. And you can see I've already got glue in it, but it keeps the glue moist. And it also comes with 3 tools. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think I use this one all the time. I rarely use these 2. But some of the things that are nice about this pot is, besides keeping the glue moist and handy for you to use when you need it, is that it does have a little holder. And you can even turn that upside down, and the lid is made so that it fits right in. So it keeps the glue dry, but that's even better to hold your tool while you're working. You can also put the glue in that lid. Sometimes when you're doing a lot of gluing, that's helpful. So the Sili glue pot is another thing. And of course, what goes with that is the glue. And the glue that Susan recommends is this Kids Choice. It's all of these things are available over at Spellbinders, and I'll have a link down below with each of them where you can find the things that I'm showing you. But the thing about this is a different glue. It's not real thin, but it's sticky. And so what's good about that is when you're putting these things together, you want something that's tacky, that'll tack the pieces together, and you don't have to hold them forever to take hold. So there's that. Now, the next thing is Susan's flower mold. And it looks like this. And you can see there's different size holes. And she's brilliantly marked them so that you know which one to use. What this is good for is if you are making flowers that have dimension, and you've got a piece, something like this maybe, and you want it to hold its shape. I don't know if you can see that. I'll I'll get a little bigger here. So we've got these little tiny little pieces that are, you can see it was a 3-petal piece. This is from the Camellia die set. And you want that to hold. What you're going to do is get it in the shape that you want it in. And I'll show you how to shape the leaves with the tools a little bit later. But then you put them in the right size. Now I happen to know this one goes in the 1/4 inch. And then you use another tool that I was going to show you, and that's the spritzer, a water spritzer. Spritz that a little bit and set that to dry, and it'll hold the shape. Wetting it helps set that position. So I've used this mold a lot. When you listen to Susan in her videos, she'll show you with the various or appropriate dyes when to use it. So I'm going to set that aside. We've already gone through the glue. So the next thing I want to share with you, Susan uses Olo markers. They are wonderful for making these cards or these flowers. The two that you're going to use the most, if you do go with Olo, are the YG 8.5 and 8.7. And there are many others that you'll want to get. In fact, I went ahead and got the whole set because they are wonderful markers. But these two colors make leaves that are so realistic. Here's an example of one. I'll show you a couple more examples here. This is from a begonia. What is this from? I can't remember which flower that leaf goes with, but you can see that those two colors work beautifully with your 3D flowers. Okay, another thing that you may want to invest in, this is probably more nice to have than a have to have, but pan pastels are wonderful for adding detail. And it, just like the name, if you played with pastels when you were a kid, this is in a little different form in a dish. And I'm going to pull this leaf back because I did use some of this pan pastel around the edges. I'll just show you how it works. You use this little applicator. I use just one for all greens. But when you add that to your leaf, it just helps the leaf come alive. And it doesn't come off, it will come off on your fingers. I'm not going to lie to you, but it stays on the piece that you're making. Another thing that Susan does a lot is apply to the veins or the main, what do you call that? The main fold in the leaf to make it more realistic as well. So the only place I found them is at Blick's Art Supplies, and I'll put a link down below for you so that you can find them. I think I've gone through just about everything other than Susan will refer to a pink rubber mat. You just have to do a search for that. But you can see that what you use it for is to form or mold different shapes. Now, this is one of the things I was going to show you. Oh, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here again. So one of the things in this kit is, I think it's called, it's a tool-in-one. And there are several tips that come with the kit. And to make these little centers, you would use the smallest of the balls, I guess. I forget what Susan calls them. but you just, too bad I did all these, but I'll show you how it's done. So if you're, actually, I think I have a little one here. Yeah. If I can get it out of the container. So you start off with a tiny little piece. You use the smallest ball, and all you do is move it around, and it cups that piece. So that's what you use for these little centerpieces. And what do you use a centerpiece for? Well, this is echinacea. It's from Susan's latest summer solstice collection over at Spellbinders. And each one of these little pieces are glued. Now that's using another tool that's in this kit. So you basically cup those. I colored them with a brown Olo marker. And then you can use your glue. For this, I don't use the tool. I just dip it in the glue. Get a little bit on the back. I got quite a bit on the back. And then just add it to the flower. So there are two of the tools within the kit. Now there are a couple of other things that I want to show you, and I probably should have shown you this glue mat. I should have used that when I was gluing, but that's what this is. And then there's a leaf. Now, what the leaf mat is, again, I'm going to change tips, and this is the leaf tip. I'm going to move this out of the way. And this time I'm going to line it up. See, there's a little place there, and you line it up with the place in the tool. Now, you can accentuate, and this is really hard to see, white on white. Maybe I'll zoom a little bit. But you just can accentuate those marks. And this mat is a thick, hard material, so it holds the piece so that you can easily add those striations or veins to the leaf. Hopefully you can see that. No, it's not. There we go. So that's what that does. Then another thing that you can do with this set is this loop tool. And what you do with that is, this is a piece that I have die cut and then colored with my markers. And you use this loop tool to shape the leaves. So you don't have to press, oh, you do have to change mats. So this mat also comes with the kit. And I'm just going to lightly press and just come about halfway through. And what it's doing is molding the petal. And you can, rather than pressing hard, you can go over it multiple times, and you do that for each of the petals. Now, to make it more realistic, then you can use this tool, which is a reverse tweezers. I've got glue on it, it looks like. And you can use it to do a couple of things. One, I'll start by showing. Now, Susan shows this in all of her videos, and I strongly encourage you to use the videos to make each of the flowers in her die set. That's why I do not show it in a video of my own, because she is so good. But this is one of the techniques that she teaches, and that is you use your tweezers to kind of pinch that, and then you can turn it around, holding that, and then use the tweezers to just bend the edges. And you can see the flower is just coming to life just by doing a couple of simple techniques like that. I would say, although these flowers look like they're extremely difficult, they're just as easy as any other card making task. It's just you need to know what to do. So that's what this tweezers does. There is another, a little very sharp scissors in there. You know how to use the scissors. So let's see. I just want to show you some examples of what you can do. So this is just a project I'm working on. It's using the new Summer Solstice collection designed by Susan, available over there at Spellbinders. And I've used 5 of the new flowers. Let's see if I can remember them all. Echinacea. And what I'll tell you is that I followed Susan's videos on the Spellbinders site and used the colors that she used for each of these. So this is Echinacea, Cosmos, Petunia, Begonia, and Anemone. And then the background is the Petunia Cascade embossing folder that I colored with water reactive colored pencils. Anyway, this is the kind of thing you can make with these tools that I've showed you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe down below. Click on the button to be reminded whenever I do publish a new video. Again, thanks for joining me. Bye for now.